Dear welcome tonight, in this bedtime history, the shore, where the stars once docked. It is said that there is a shoreline at the edge of remembered time, a place where the sea moves with an older rhythm and the sky bends a little lower to listen. You may imagine yourself there now as night has already unfolded its dark, gentle cloth across the world. The air is cool, carrying the faint salt of ancient tides. Ahead, under a quiet, patient moon, lies a curve of sand that seems to hold its breath, as if waiting for something that has not arrived in a very long time. The waves come in slowly, not with force, but with a soft insistence, as though they are tracing a pattern, a ritual older than the stones themselves. They slip forward, they sigh, they retreat, leaving behind thin threads of silver foam that glisten, then vanish. Beneath your imagined feet, the sand is cool and fine, dotted with fragments of stone that do not look entirely natural. Straight edges, carved lines, and the faint suggestion of a spiral worn delicate by centuries of tide. Whispers tell us that once, long before maps tried to fix the world into certainty, a harbour stood here. Not the busy kind of harbour crowded with shouts and smoke, but a quiet one, devoted to the sky. It was a haven for those who sailed not by coastline, but by constellation, for navigators who read the language of the stars with a reverence others reserved for sacred books. Beneath the silence, you can almost feel their presence. A low wall here, half buried in the sand, might have been a key. A scattered line of stone stretching toward the water may once have been a pier. Time has softened them, blurred their purpose, but not entirely erased it. The shore still remembers, in its own patient way. As you walk along this imagined strand, the moonlight draws your gaze downward. At first, you see only the scattered shapes of rock, but soon, patterns begin to emerge. A curve here, another there, the hint of a circle connected to a line. The more you look, the more you notice. Arcs and spirals, carved so faintly into the stone that they almost disappear when a wave passes over them. It is said that these markings mirror the sky, as it was known to those long-vanished sailors. Not the constellations we know by familiar names, but older groupings, forgotten stories, and celestial paths traced with a care that bordered on devotion. On certain nights, when the sea was calm and the air very clear, the harbour would glow at dusk, as if the stones themselves were remembering the touch of star-silvered hulls. Some believe that the ships, which once brushed these waters, were not merely vessels of wood and woven sail. They speak in hushed tones of celestial ships, craft guided into port not only by the light of stars, but by an understanding of them that has since slipped from human memory. It was here, they say, that navigators stood at the water's edge, raising their eyes to the sky and breathing in its patterns as though absorbing a living map. You may imagine them now, shadows against the last pale band of twilight. No loud commands, no clatter of chains. Only quiet murmurings and the soft splash of oars, like a heartbeat in water. Their harbour was not a place of trade, but of alignment. Stone paths angled precisely, so that certain stars would rise between certain pillars, so that the moon would cast a perfect reflection through a carved archway once every cycle, marking time as gently as a breath. Where memory fades, ruins remain. The stones under the sand have forgotten the names once given to them, but not the shapes they were asked to hold. A half-circle of rock might have cradled a ritual fire used not for warmth, but for signaling. A trembling flame answering the cold glimmer above. A fallen column may once have framed the exact point where a wandering star crossed the horizon. Some old fragments of legend speak of a gate of arrival. A place along this shore where the water was said to shine with an unusual clarity. Those who came there at dusk swore they could see, beneath the ordinary waves, a faint geometry of light. Lines and points and turning circles, as though the sea itself were reflecting some hidden chart. They believed that if a ship entered the harbor at just the right angle, in just the right moment, it would slip not only into the bay, but into a layer of the world that ran parallel and unseen. Perhaps it was never meant to be found. Perhaps it was simply the way the last golden rays of sun tangled with the first silver threads of moonlight upon the water, weaving an illusion that tender hearts mistook for a sign. Yet even a mirage can tell us what a people longed for. This harbor, older than memory, seems to carry the dream of passage, not only from one coast to another, but from one state of being into the next. As you linger on this shore in your thoughts, notice how the night deepens in gentle shades. The line between sea and sky begins to soften. Stars brighten, one by one, drifting into their places. The waves ribbit their timeless prayer along the sand. In the hush, it becomes easy to imagine that once, long ago, the stars did not merely shine upon this harbor. They answered it. Some believe that the sailors who gathered here had a different relationship with the sky than we do now. They did not look up to conquer or to measure, but to listen. Each star, to them, held not only a position, but a personality, a quiet voice. They charted their voyages like conversations, choosing routes that aligned with stars they trusted, avoiding those whose light felt troubled or dim. On nights of special alignment, when several trusted stars formed a particular pattern overhead, the harbor itself would be prepared. Lamps of polished bronze were lit along the shore, their flames shielded from the wind by careful hands. They say that as the celestial pattern reached its height, the sea became almost glass-like, and into that smooth, dark mirror the harbor poured its answered light. The stones remember this. Their worn surfaces still hold, in the faintest grooves, the echoes of symbols drawn to honor those nights. Spirals that might mark the path of a star across a season. Repeating arcs that could trace a ship's journey home. Small, star-shaped indentations where perhaps offerings once rested. Shells, bits of polished glass, objects carried across great distances and left here as tokens of gratitude. Whispers tell us that over time, the world beyond this shore changed. Empires rose and fell along distant coasts. New maps were inked, filling the voids with confident lines, leaving fewer and fewer spaces for the unknown. The harbor, which had once opened toward possibility, began to slip out of common memory. Without the ritual of tending, paths are overgrown. Without the careful eyes of willing watchers, even the brightest signals can fade. Storms came. The sea, in its slow, patient way, rearranged the edge of the land. Walls crumbled into uneven heaps. The gate of arrival, if it ever stood as described, sank beneath years of shifting tide, its stones scattered like fallen constellations along the seabed. What could be seen from the shore became only fragments, hints, the bones of a story worn thin. And yet, not everything is lost. On very quiet nights, when wind is scarce and the water moves with a subtle glassy weight, those who wander here speak of a feeling, a gentle strangeness in the air, as though some old attention were turning once more toward the earth. A sense that the sky, in all its distant brilliance, is not entirely indifferent. That the patterns above and the ruins below are still in conversation, even if we no longer understand their language. You may stand there in your imagination, at the edge of the tide, and look out over the dark water. The horizon is a soft, indistinct line. The stars are reflected on the surface in trembling threads. In some places, the reflections seem to waver more deeply, as if the sea is not merely showing the sky, but storing it. You might find yourself wondering whether some of those lights are not reflections at all, but faint remnants of ships that no longer sail. Star-marked vessels, leaving impressions as they slip into a realm beyond sight. There is no need to decide. This shore was never a place for firm conclusions. It was a threshold, a passage, a quiet agreement between stone, sea, and star that meaning could be felt, even when it could not be fully named. As your mind walks further along the beach, the stones grow more scattered, the carvings less clear. Sand fills the spaces between them, smoothing their edges, folding them gently back into the land. It becomes harder to tell where human intention ended and the earth resumed its own slow design. Like memories in a drowsing mind, the images blur. A broken column, a half-buried step, a faint spiral no bigger than a hand. The night, however, grows clearer. The sky darkens into a rich, deep blue, and the stars claim their places with quiet certainty. Above you, the constellations. Old ones, new ones, ones with names and ones without, extend across the firmament like a map too vast to fold. Below, the sea moves in time with your breathing, each wave a soft entrance, a gentle retreat. Perhaps the harbour was real, a place where sailors once returned safely because they trusted in stars and stone more than in power or fame. Perhaps it was a memory shaped from longing, a story told and retold until the land itself seemed to bend around it. Or perhaps it is both, a real place that became a dream, and a dream that shaped the way people once saw the real. In the end, the stones do not say. They remain, patient under the moon, holding their secrets as the tide glides over them again and again. The sea does not say. It carries its stories beneath a surface that only rarely lets us see below. The stars say nothing at all. They simply shine, as they have always done, indifferent and yet somehow tender, scattering their light like scattered seeds across the dark soil of the sky. And so the chapter settles into its final image. Starlight resting upon ripples, each small wave a moving mirror, carrying fragments of the sky toward the shore where the stars once docked. Nothing arrives. No ship cuts across the water. Only the soft breath of the ocean, the slow turning of the earth, the distant shimmer of constellations that once guided hands and hearts. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. On this shore, older than memory, the echo is gentle. It asks no answers from you. It offers only a feeling. That somewhere in the shifting space between water and sky, between what was and what is dreamed, there lingers the possibility that we are still being guided, softly, by lights we do not fully understand. Let that thought drift as the waves drift. Let it blur at the edges, like reflections on a moving sea. And when it fades into the quiet of your own breathing, the shore remains, tucked gently into the folds of your mind, waiting in silence for whatever ship dreams may one day return.
As the night settles deeper, a veil of mist rises from the earth, swirling softly under the gaze of the moon. It is in this quiet, shrouded stillness that the veil of the forgotten gods stirs. Hidden in the soft embrace of the mist, they wait, not in shadows or in darkness, but in the soft, ethereal places where time itself seems to bend and quiet the world. In forgotten corners of the earth, it is said that these gods still linger, watching over the lands they once ruled, their presence felt only by the most attuned hearts, the most silent minds. Their temples are gone, their altars buried, yet their influence lingers like a faint breath against the night. Tonight, we step beyond the veil, into the spaces where the divine was once as tangible as the earth beneath our feet. We walk in the footsteps of those who worshipped these gods, who prayed beneath their watchful eyes, long before the world turned, long before the names of these gods faded into dust. Their influence was felt in every grain of sand, every ripple of water, every turn of the heavens. These gods were the breath of life itself, the forces of nature embodied in divine form, woven into the fabric of existence. But now, those same gods exist only in whispers, in the soft rustle of leaves in forgotten forests, in the quiet hum of the earth that seems to hold the echoes of a distant song. It is said that their names were never meant to be forgotten, yet they slipped from human memory, as if the earth itself had chosen to hide them. Their temples, once grand and gleaming, now lie in ruins, their walls covered with moss, their carvings worn smooth by the touch of time. And still, beneath the silence, their presence endures. The wind that stirs the dust carries their names, and the moon that rises over the earth casts their shadows on the land. As you walk through the remnants of a forgotten temple, the air is thick with the weight of the past. The stones beneath your feet are cool, worn by the centuries, their surfaces etched with symbols whose meanings have long since been lost. The temple itself is a place of stillness, its once grand halls now silent, its sacred fire extinguished. Yet, even in the emptiness, there is a sense of something alive, something waiting to be remembered. It is as if the very stones hum with the memory of the gods who once stood here, their presence lingering in the air like a soft breath on the wind. The gods of old were not distant or removed. They were intertwined with the very fabric of life, present in every leaf that unfurled in the wind, in every river that carved its path through the earth. They were as close as the breath in your chest, as distant as the stars above. They ruled not from a high throne, but from the heart of the world itself. Their power was not in force, but in the quiet forces of nature, the rhythm of the seasons, the flow of the rivers, the dance of the stars across the night sky. It is said that to worship these gods was not to offer up grand sacrifices, but to live in harmony with the earth, to honor the sacred balance that exists between all things. And yet, these gods faded. Their names were whispered only in the quietest corners of the earth, where the air is thick with the weight of memory. Their stories were carried on the lips of those who remembered. But as time wore on, those stories faded too. The temples fell into ruin, the altars crumbled, and the people, once devoted to their gods, turned their gaze to other, newer powers. And so, the veil between the divine and the earthly world grew thicker until these gods were no longer seen or worshipped, but simply felt in the stillness, in the spaces between heartbeats. Tonight, the veil begins to lift. As you stand in the remains of this ancient place, you feel the soft stirrings of their presence. Perhaps it is a passing breeze that carries a faint scent of jasmine, or the distant cry of an owl that echoes through the night. Perhaps it is the stillness itself that speaks to you, as if the earth has paused to remember, to honor the gods who had once walked upon it. The air around you seems to hum with the weight of their presence, as though they are watching, waiting for someone to remember them. And so, you move deeper into the temple, following the faint glow of moonlight that filters through the broken stone. The walls around you are etched with symbols, symbols of gods whose names are lost to time, their faces faded by centuries of wear. But still, there is power in these symbols, power that lingers in the spaces between them, in the quiet hum of the earth beneath your feet. It is as if the temple itself is a living thing, a vessel for the divine, holding within it the memory of a time when the gods were more than just whispers. As you walk through the sacred halls, you begin to feel the weight of the past upon you. The air grows heavy with it, thick with the stories of those who once stood here, offering their prayers, their sacrifices, their devotion. What were they seeking, you wonder? What divine answer were they hoping to receive? Perhaps it was peace. Perhaps it was understanding. Perhaps, as the earth itself whispers, it was simply the desire to live in harmony with the forces that shaped their world. But in the silence of the temple, it is not the answers that matter. It is the question itself, the question that has always been whispered in the wind, in the rustling of leaves, in the rhythm of the earth. What happened to the gods? Where did they go? And why did they fade from memory? Some say they are still here, waiting for us to remember, waiting for us to lift the veil and call their names once more. Others believe that they have moved on, leaving behind only their memory, hidden in the quiet spaces of the earth. The moon rises higher, casting long shadows across the stone, the carvings on the walls flickering like shadows in the light. You stand in the heart of the temple, feeling the weight of the past and the presence of the gods. And in that stillness, you realize that some mysteries are never meant to be solved, that some stories are meant to remain hidden, wrapped in the veil of time. Perhaps in the end, it is enough to simply remember, to honor the gods in the quietest of ways, by listening, by feeling, by being present in the stillness of the world. As the night deepens and the stars shine brightly above, you find yourself standing in the shadow of the forgotten gods, bathed in moonlight, surrounded by the echoes of their presence. Perhaps they were never meant to be fully known, but only to be felt in the spaces between heartbeats, in the stillness of the night. And in that quiet, they live on, not in the temples or the altars, but in the earth itself, in the rhythm of the wind, in the hum of the stars. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. And tonight, the gods speak to us in silence. Beneath a sky painted with the soft hues of twilight, there winds a river as old as the earth itself, its waters still and sacred. The river flows not with urgency, but with a quiet grace, carrying with it the whispers of forgotten prayers and the secrets of a time long past. It is said that these waters once held the power to cleanse the soul, to purify the spirit, and to bring the living closer to the divine. Now, however, the river flows in silence, its song drowned by the passage of centuries, its secrets carried away by the winds that sweep over the land. Yet, tonight, the river calls once more, inviting you to listen, to remember, to feel its sacred flow. The journey to the river begins in stillness. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth, the faint hum of nature's breath stirring the leaves on the trees that line its banks. You stand at the edge of the river, where the water glows faintly under the moonlight, its surface undisturbed by even the faintest ripple. The night is quiet, save for the occasional rustle of a breeze and the soft, steady murmur of the water as it winds its way through the land. The river is ancient, its path carved into the earth long before the first footsteps of man ever touched the soil. Some say it was here before time itself, a sacred force that shaped the world, a thread connecting the heavens to the earth. In forgotten times, the river was seen as a place of deep spiritual significance. It is said that the ancients believed the river's waters held the key to understanding the mysteries of the divine. Those who came to the river, be they kings, priests, or humble travelers, would offer prayers, sacrifices, and hopes for guidance. The river's currents, they believed, carried these offerings to the gods, who would then answer with blessings of wisdom, peace, and prosperity. But now, the river flows quietly, as though holding its breath, the ancient rituals long since abandoned, the offerings forgotten. As you step closer to the river, the stillness deepens. The water is clear, its depths mysterious, as if the river hides its secrets beneath a smooth, glassy surface. There are no ripples, no splashes, only the soft shimmer of moonlight reflecting off the water. You kneel at its edge, your fingers brushing the cool surface, feeling the pulse of the river beneath your touch. It is said that the river has always been a mirror not of the body, but of the soul. Those who look into its depths are said to see not just their reflection, but their innermost desires, their fears, their truths. The river does not judge, but simply shows what is. It is a sacred space where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds blur, and where one can come to understand not only the world around them, but the world within. The moon rises higher, casting a pale light over the water, and as you gaze into the river's depths, you feel a quiet stirring within you. Perhaps the river has been waiting for you, as it waits for all who come seeking, to remember what has been lost to time. Some believe that the river holds the wisdom of the ages, that its waters carry the stories of all who have come before. The old ones, they say, speak of the river as though it is a living being, an ancient spirit that watches over the world, listening to the prayers of the living and carrying the whispers of the dead. And perhaps in some way it is true, for in the silence of the river there is a presence, an old, eternal knowing that rests just beyond reach. The journey through the river's sacred space is one of quiet reflection, of deep, meditative understanding. As you sit beside the water, the moonlight stretching long across the surface, you feel the weight of the past begin to lift. It is said that the river can cleanse, can purify, can bring clarity to those who are willing to listen. But it is not a process of loud revelations or grand gestures. It is subtle, like the soft current beneath the water, like the slow breath of the earth itself. As you sit by the river, the world grows still, and you begin to understand that the answers you seek are not outside you, but within. The river is not here to give you answers, but to show you the path, the way to quiet your mind, to still your heart, and to listen to the whispers of your soul. In the distance, the sound of a bird's call rises, soft and clear against the night's silence. The river's waters reflect the light of the stars, and for a moment, everything seems to pause. The world holds its breath. The river, ancient and eternal, flows on, carrying with it the stories of all who have come before and all who will come after. And in that quiet flow, in the sacred stillness of the water, you feel the presence of something greater than yourself, a force that connects all things, that moves through the earth and the sky, and that lives in the river's sacred waters. As you rise from the river's edge, feels the air cool against your skin, you feel a sense of peace that you did not have before. Perhaps, in the stillness of the river, you have found something, not an answer, but a truth. The river is not a place of grand revelations or dramatic gestures. It is simply a space of reflection, a paid where time slows and where one can sit quietly with their own soul. And in that stillness, you come to understand that the answers to life's great questions are not found in loud proclamations or grand events, but in the quiet, sacred moments that slip between heartbeats, in the spaces where the earth and the spirit meet. And so, you leave the river behind, its waters still and sacred, its mysteries carried with you, like a secret held in the depths of your heart. The night deepens, and the world around you grows quiet once more, but the memory of the river lingers, like the soft echo of a dream that fades just before dawn. Perhaps the river's answers were never meant to be found. Perhaps they were always here, in the silence, waiting for you to listen. And as you walk away, the river's song stays with you, a quiet hum in the back of your mind, carrying its wisdom, its peace, and its sacred flow with you always. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps the river's secrets will remain hidden, but in the stillness of its waters, we can find what we seek: peace, clarity, connection. The desert stretches before you like a dream, an endless sea of shifting sands that shifts beneath your feet, each grain whispering tales of a forgotten time. The air is warm, heavy with the weight of centuries, yet still as the stones themselves. Above, the sky lies in soft layers of dusky gold and pale blue, the sun low in the horizon as it begins to dip beneath the veil of twilight. In this moment, the desert feels alive, its silence profound, as though it carries the memory of everything that has ever been here, buried deep beneath its endless dunes. It is said that once, long ago, this desert was home to a kingdom so vast and magnificent that its name echoed across lands, far beyond the horizon. Some believe that this kingdom flourished beneath a sky filled with stars, its walls adorned with gold, its streets alive with music, its halls filled with the laughter of its people. It was a kingdom of knowledge, of prosperity, of power, but now it lies in ruins, swallowed by the sands of time, its grandeur reduced to dust. And yet, in the stillness of the desert, beneath the ever-shifting dunes, you can still feel the presence of what once was. The wind stirs, moving the sands like an ancient whisper. The desert, like a great, eternal book, holds its stories in the silence between each grain, each moment. As you walk, each step in the desert echoes with the faintest trace of the past. Somewhere out there, beneath the endless stretch of golden sand, the remnants of the lost kingdom still remain, waiting to be uncovered. Some say that the ruins are hidden in plain sight, that they lie beneath the earth itself, waiting for the wind to reveal them once more. But others believe that the kingdom has truly disappeared, that it has faded from this world completely, leaving only the whisper of its name on the wind. As you journey further into the desert, the air becomes heavier, the heat pressing in from all sides. The scent of earth and dust fills your senses, and the golden light of the setting sun casts long shadows across the dunes. Here, where the silence is broken only by the gentle sound of the wind, you come upon a scattering of stone fragments, broken walls, crumbled pillars, a hint of something that once stood proud against the sands. The ruins seem to rise from the earth like ghosts, their edges worn smooth by time, their stories hidden beneath layers of sand. Yet in the stillness, you can sense the shape of something more, a kingdom once grand, now lost to the ages. Beneath the shifting sands, some believe there is a hidden city, its streets still paved with ancient stone, its temples still reaching toward the sky. Whispers speak of a great temple, lost in the heart of the desert, where the gods themselves were once honored. In that sacred space, it is said, rituals were performed under the watchful gaze of the stars, where offerings were made to the divine, and the celestial alignment was held in perfect harmony. But the temple, like the kingdom itself, has vanished from the world. All that remains is the soft echo of the past, carried by the wind, whispered by the sands. The kingdom's story is shrouded in mystery, and as the sun sinks lower, you feel the weight of that mystery pressing in, like the very air around you is thick with secrets. What happened to this magnificent kingdom? Was it the sands themselves that claimed it, as they have claimed so many others, or was there something more? Some say the fall was swift, a great tragedy that tore the kingdom apart, while others speak of a slow decline, a fading into nothingness that came with the passage of time. But what of the people who once lived here? What happened to them? Were they lost to the desert, their memories scattered like the stones beneath your feet? Or did they leave, leaving only the ruins behind as a testament to what was? There is no clear answer, only the deep silence of the desert and the soft sound of your breath in the stillness. The mystery lingers, thick in the air, as the wind stirs the sand around you. But perhaps that is the essence of the desert itself, a place where nothing remains, where all is lost to the shifting tides of time, yet everything is remembered. Every grain of sand carries the weight of a forgotten story, and in the silence, those stories echo. Perhaps the kingdom was never truly lost, for its memory lives on in the desert itself, carried by the wind, whispered in the silence of the earth. As you stand among the ruins, the sun dipping lower in the sky, you feel the weight of time press upon you. The desert is not a place of answers, but a place of questions. Perhaps, like the kingdom itself, the answers have been buried beneath the sands, lost to the winds, to time, to the endless shifting of the earth. Perhaps, as the night falls and the stars rise, the kingdom will remain hidden in the depths of the desert, a secret that will never be fully uncovered. And yet, in the stillness, there is a sense of peace. The kingdom may have vanished, its walls crumbled, its people forgotten, but the desert holds it still. It holds the memory of what was, and in that memory, the kingdom continues to exist. Perhaps it is not gone at all. Perhaps it is simply waiting, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to remember, to uncover the secrets buried in the sands. As the desert night falls and the first stars begin to twinkle above, the silence deepens and you are left with a soft, eternal echo of the kingdom, a whisper that drifts through the sands, waiting, as it always has, to be heard. Perhaps it is never meant to be found, this lost kingdom, for it lives on in the mystery itself, in the endless question that the desert asks. And perhaps that is enough. As the night deepens, let your mind wander further into the silence, deeper into the forgotten places. Imagine, if you will, a city bathed in the silver glow of the moon, a city that once hummed with the pulse of life, now only a dream wrapped in shadows, cradled by time. Tonight, we walk through its quiet streets, where the echoes of a lost civilization are whispered on the wind, carried in the dust of forgotten alleys. It is said that under the full moon, when the world sleeps and the air is still, the ruins of this city stir, as though remembering its own history. Its stone walls, worn and crumbled by centuries of neglect, catch the faintest light, reflecting the memories of lives once lived here. The moon's glow traces the outlines of broken statues, their faces lost to time, but still somehow watching over the empty squares, as if they are waiting for something or someone. The city rests in a quiet sorrow, and you feel its sadness as you walk its streets. You follow the winding paths that lead through the heart of the ruins, past columns that once stood tall and proud, now leaning against the weight of age and the slow erosion of the earth. The walls, though cracked and scarred, still carry the faintest traces of murals, their colors faded like the memories of those who once gazed upon them. What stories did these walls once tell? What songs did the people of this city sing beneath the moon, their voices rising up to meet the stars? As you move deeper into the city, the silence becomes more profound. No birds sing, no leaves rustle, only the soft sound of your footsteps on ancient stones. The air is heavy with the past, with the weight of a history that has been lost to the world. Some believe that this city was abandoned overnight, its people vanishing without a trace, leaving behind only the ghostly remnants of their once great civilization. Perhaps it was a catastrophe, a natural disaster, or a war that ravaged the city's heart. Or perhaps, as others whisper, it was a decision made in a moment of divine reckoning for the city to fade into nothingness, swallowed by the earth itself. The moon rises higher, casting long shadows across the city. The ruins stretch out before you like an ancient painting, painted in muted tones of silver and blue, where the past and present blur together. As you walk through the remnants of this forgotten place, the air seems to hum with the question, what caused this city's fall? Was it time itself that wore it away? Or something deeper, a secret buried within its very foundations, something so profound that the city had no choice but to slip quietly into the earth, as if it never existed at all? In the distance, you come upon the city's central square, now nothing more than a hollow echo of its former self. Here, in the heart of the city, there once stood a great temple, a temple whose pillars stretched up toward the heavens, whose doors opened wide to the stars. Now, only the crumbling foundation remains, the stones scattered like the last whispers of a dream, lost to the winds. Yet there is a certain majesty in this destruction, a quiet beauty that is only found in the remnants of what once was. The moonlight dances across the ruins, casting long, mournful shadows that seem to stretch toward the horizon, as if the city itself is still reaching for something just out of its grasp. Somewhere, hidden in the silence, there is a memory of laughter, of joy, of life. And though it is no longer visible, you feel it beneath your feet, rising from the earth itself, carried in the breeze that now stirs the leaves of forgotten trees. It is as though the city is telling you that it is not truly gone, that it lives on in the quiet spaces between the stones, in the very air that surrounds you. Its pulse, though faint, still beats within these walls, waiting to be heard by those who listen closely enough. You pause for a moment in the center of the square, taking in the vastness of the ruins around you. The silence is profound, a silence that feels both sacred and sorrowful. In this place, where the past lingers like a dream, you are left with only questions. Perhaps the answers were lost with the people, scattered across time like the dust that now settles over the stones. But perhaps in the stillness, the city's secrets will remain, not for the world to uncover, but for the few who are willing to listen to the silence, to let the moonlight guide them into the heart of the mystery. The wind begins to stir once more, gently lifting the dust that has settled over the ruins, carrying with it the faintest echo of a song that once filled the streets of this city, now lost to the ages. It is said that some cities are never truly forgotten, that their stories live on in the silence that remains. And though this city has faded into the night, its presence is still here, in the moonlight, in the ruins, in the very breath of the earth itself. As the moon begins its descent, the city grows still once more, its secrets tucked away beneath the dust and the shadows. You leave the square and begin your journey back, but the image of the city remains with you, lingering like the last note of a song. Perhaps it was never meant to be found, this city, for it has already slipped away into the silence where only the moonlight remembers. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. And tonight, the city speaks softly, its song fading into the wind, as it always has. Beneath the vast, quiet sky, there lies a labyrinth carved into the heart of a forgotten mountain, hidden from the world by time and stone. It is not a maze of mere pathways, but a sacred journey woven into the earth itself, its purpose veiled in mystery. The entrance to the labyrinth is not grand or imposing, but humble, a simple stone archway hidden among the jagged cliffs and soft mists that linger at the mountain's base. Yet in its silence, there is something profoundly ancient about it, something that calls out, faintly, from beneath the weight of centuries. As the night falls and the stars begin their slow dance across the sky, You feel the pull of the labyrinth. There is no clear explanation for it, no loud summons. It is a quiet invitation felt deep within your soul, like the echo of a distant memory. You move toward it, slowly, as if drawn by an invisible thread, the soft whisper of the earth beneath your feet guiding you deeper into the mountain's heart. The air is cool here, filled with the scent of damp stone and moss. The only sound, the gentle stir of the wind as it passes through the cracks in the rocks. Some say that the labyrinth was created long ago by an ancient people, a people whose understanding of the world was far deeper than we could imagine. These people, it is whispered, sought not only to understand the earth and the heavens, but to unite them. The labyrinth, they believed, was a bridge, a sacred passage between the known world and the divine. It was a pool of reflection, of connection, where the seeker could enter and journey through the very fabric of existence. There, beneath the stone, they would confront their own truths, their own shadows, and perhaps in time find their way to the heart of the mystery. But the labyrinth is no simple thing. As you step through the stone archway, the air changes, the temperature drops, and the silence becomes thick, almost tangible, wrapping itself around you like a shroud. The stone walls rise up around you, narrowing the path, guiding you forward without any clear direction. The passageways twist and turn, as though they are alive, as though they are watching you, responding to your every move. The labyrinth seems to stretch on forever, and yet, with each step, it becomes both familiar and foreign, a place that you have never been, but somehow feel as though you've always known. The carvings on the walls are faint, their meanings lost to time, yet there is an undeniable beauty in their presence. They seem to shift as you pass by them, their shapes changing in the flicker of torchlight. There are symbols here, spirals, stars, eyes, ancient markers of knowledge that once held great power. Some believe that these symbols are not merely decorative, but were placed here with intention, to guide the traveler deeper into the labyrinth's mysteries, to unlock the doorways of the mind and soul. They are keys, some say, to understanding the hidden truths of the universe. And as you move through the labyrinth, you feel the weight of these symbols pressing in, inviting you to seek what lies beyond. At times, the labyrinth feels still, and at other times, it seems to hum with energy, as though the stones themselves are alive with an ancient force. The very air seems to pulse with it, vibrating softly against your skin. It is as if the labyrinth is not just a physical place, but a spiritual one, designed to draw out the deepest thoughts, the quietest fears, the most hidden parts of the soul. Here, in this place of silence and stone, you are forced to face yourself in ways you never have before. The walls seem to close in, guiding you deeper into the heart of the maze, until you are alone with the echoes of your own thoughts. Somewhere, deep within the labyrinth, there is said to be a chamber, a sacred space where all paths converge. It is a place where the seeker can find what they have come for, whether it be wisdom, peace, or perhaps the answer to a question that has haunted them. The chamber is not easily found, for the labyrinth is designed to protect it. Only those who are truly ready, those who have walked the winding paths, faced their own darkness, and let go of the world above, will reach it. And even then, The chamber itself does not give up its secrets easily. It is said that those who enter must be prepared to confront themselves fully, to release all that they have known, and in that release, they will find the truth they seek. But reaching the center of the labyrinth is no simple task. As you move deeper into its winding passages, the air grows heavier, the silence more profound. The walls seem to shift and change around you, leading you in circles, testing your resolve. Each turn you take feels like a step closer to the heart of the mystery. Yet each corner you round only brings you back to where you started. It is as though the labyrinth is holding you in a place of reflection, forcing you to examine your path, your choices, your desires. What do you seek here, in the quiet shadows of the stone? Is it the divine? Is it peace? Or is it something deeper, a part of yourself that you have long forgotten? At times, you wonder if you will ever reach the center, but then, in the distance, you see it, a faint glow, like the soft light of a distant star. You are drawn to it, slowly, as though the labyrinth itself is guiding you toward it. The walls open up before you, and you enter a chamber bathed in a pale, ethereal light. The space is not large, but it feels infinite, as if the very air around you stretches beyond the limits of the stone. Here, in this sacred place, the silence is profound, the kind of silence that speaks louder than any sound. And as you stand in the center of this chamber, the weight of the labyrinth's mystery falls away. There is no answer to seek here, no knowledge to uncover. There is only the stillness, the peace of being exactly where you are. The labyrinth, in all its winding paths, was not a journey toward something external, but a journey inward. It was a test of your own soul, a challenge to see yourself as you truly are. And now, in this sacred chamber, you understand that the answers were always within you. The labyrinth fades behind you as you step back into the night. The walls of stone no longer feel like barriers, but like ancient friends who have shown you the way. Perhaps it was never about finding the center, but about embracing the journey itself. And as you leave the labyrinth behind, you feel a quiet peace, a stillness that will stay with you, like a secret kept by the stones, whispered on the wind. Some doors, some paths, are never meant to be fully understood, but only experienced. The labyrinth has shown you its truth, and with that truth, you walk forward, forever changed. Perhaps, someday, the labyrinth will call you back, but for now, you leave it behind, its mysteries cradled in the quiet echo of your heart. Beneath a sky painted with the soft hues of twilight, there winds a river as old as the earth itself, its waters still and sacred. The river flows not with urgency, but with a quiet grace, carrying with it the whispers of forgotten prayers and the secrets of a time long past. It is said that these waters once held the power to cleanse the soul, to purify the spirit, and to bring the living closer to the divine. Now, however, the river flows in silence, its song drowned by the passage of centuries, its secrets carried away by the winds that sweep over the land. Yet, tonight, the river calls once more, inviting you to listen, to remember, to feel its sacred flow. The journey to the river begins in stillness. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth. The faint hum of nature's breath stirring the leaves on the trees that line its banks. You stand at the edge of the river, where the water glows faintly under the moonlight, its surface undisturbed by even the faintest ripple. The night is quiet, save for the occasional rustle of a breeze and the soft, steady murmur of the water as it winds its way through the land. The river is ancient, its path carved into the earth long before the first footsteps of man ever touched the soil. Some say it was here before time itself, a sacred force that shaped the world, a thread connecting the heavens to the earth. In forgotten times, the river was seen as a place of deep spiritual significance. It is said that the ancients believed the river's waters held the key to understanding the mysteries of the divine. Those who came to the river, be they kings, priests, or humble travelers, would offer prayers, sacrifices, and hopes for guidance. The river's currents, they believed, carried these offerings to the gods, who would then answer with blessings of wisdom, peace, and prosperity. But now, the river flows quietly, as though holding its breath, the ancient rituals long since abandoned, the offerings forgotten. As you step closer to the river, the stillness deepens. The water is clear, its depths mysterious, as if the river hides its secrets beneath a smooth, glassy surface. There are no ripples, no splashes, only the soft shimmer of moonlight reflecting off the water. You kneel at its edge, your fingers brushing the cool surface, feeling the pulse of the river beneath your touch. It is said that the river has always been a mirror not of the body, but of the soul. Those who look into its depths are said to see not just their reflection, but their innermost desires, their fears, their truths. The river does not judge, but simply shows what is. It is a sacred space where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual worlds blur, and where one can come to understand not only the world around them, but the world within. The moon rises higher, casting a pale light over the water, and as you gaze into the river's depths, you feel a quiet stirring within you. Perhaps the river has been waiting for you, as it waits for all who come seeking, to remember what has been lost to time. Some believe that the river holds the wisdom of the ages, that its waters carry the stories of all who have come before. The old ones, they say, speak of the river as though it is a living being, an ancient spirit that watches over the world, listening to the prayers of the living and carrying the whispers of the dead. And perhaps in some way it is true, for in the silence of the river there is a presence, an old, eternal knowing that rests just beyond reach. The journey through the river's sacred space is one of quiet reflection, of deep, meditative understanding. As you sit beside the water, the moonlight stretching long across the surface, you feel the weight of the past begin to lift. It is said that the river can cleanse, can purify, can bring clarity to those who are willing to listen. But it is not a process of loud revelations or grand gestures. It is subtle, like the soft current beneath the water, like the slow breath of the earth itself. As you sit by the river, the world grows still, and you begin to understand that the answers you seek are not outside you, but within. The river is not here to give you answers, but to show you the path, the way to quiet your mind, to still your heart, and to listen to the whispers of your soul. In the distance, the sound of a bird's call rises, soft and clear against the night's silence. The river's waters reflect the light of the stars, and for a moment, everything seems to pause. The world holds its breath. The river, ancient and eternal, flows on, carrying with it the stories of all who have come before and all who will come after. And in that quiet flow, in the sacred stillness of the water, you feel the presence of something greater than yourself, a force that connects all things, that moves through the earth and the sky, and that lives in the river's sacred waters. As you rise from the river's edge, pulse the air cool against your skin, you feel a sense of peace that you did not have before. Perhaps, in the stillness of the river, you have found something, not an answer, but a truth. The river is not a place of grand revelations or dramatic gestures. It is simply a space of reflection, a paid where time slows and where one can sit quietly with their own soul. And in that stillness, you come to understand that the answers to life's great questions are not found in loud proclamations or grand events, but in the quiet, sacred moments that slip between heartbeats, in the spaces where the earth and the spirit meet. And so, you leave the river behind, its waters still and sacred, its mysteries carried with you, like a secret held in the depths of your heart. The night deepens, and the world around you grows quiet once more, but the memory of the river lingers, like the soft echo of a dream that fades just before dawn. Perhaps the river's answers were never meant to be found. Perhaps they were always here, in the silence, waiting for you to listen. And as you walk away, the river's song stays with you, a quiet hum in the back of your mind, carrying its wisdom, its peace, and its sacred flow with you always. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen. Perhaps the river's secrets will remain hidden, but in the stillness of its waters, we can find what we seek: peace, clarity, connection. The stars that guided the lost navigators. As the dark velvet of night unfurls across the sky, you find yourself gazing upward where the stars twinkle faintly, like distant echoes of forgotten worlds. The constellations that once guided sailors and travelers through vast, uncharted oceans now lie above you in silence, their stories whispered only in the quietest corners of the earth. Tonight, we journey beneath these stars, tracing the paths once followed by those ancient navigators who, with nothing but the heavens to guide them, ventured into the unknown, trusting the celestial bodies to lead them safely home. It is said that the stars were the first map, long before the compass or the chart, before the scrolls of explorers filled with calculations and coordinates. In times long past, when the earth was vast and unexplored, it was the stars that offered direction, a constant, ever-present guide in the endless night. The sky, with its endless sea of shimmering lights, held the answers, the promise of discovery, and the whispers of journeys yet to be made. These ancient navigators, their minds attuned to the patterns of the heavens, used the stars not just as points in the sky, but as a language, one that spoke in arcs and angles, in the movements of planets and the shifting of constellations. The journey begins with a single, quiet question. How did they know? How did these lost navigators, sailing under unmarked skies, understand the paths of the stars, the secrets that the universe kept hidden? As you listen to the stillness of the night, the answer is not one that comes in words, but in the very presence of the stars themselves. Each twinkle, each faint shimmer carries with it the memory of journeys made long ago, voyages that took people to lands unseen, to shores untouched by civilization, to places that were, and perhaps still are, sacred. These navigators, they say, did not simply travel from one place to another. No, their journey was more than a physical one. It was a spiritual path, a pilgrimage guided by the stars themselves. The stars were more than tools to them. They were partners, companions in the voyage, their constant presence in the sky, providing comfort in times of uncertainty, assurance in moments of fear. When the make waters stretched endlessly before them, and the horizon was nothing but the indistinguishable line between ocean and sky, it was the stars that anchored them, that reminded them that they were not alone, that the heavens themselves had charted a course for them. As you stand beneath the stars tonight, you may feel that same sense of wonder, that same quiet awe that the navigators must have felt as they looked up at the night sky. There is a strange, ancient magic in these stars, a wisdom that transcends time, that connects us to those who came before. As you trace the constellations, the paths that these ancient voyagers once followed become clear. Each star, each faint cluster, represents not just a point in the sky, but a memory, a story, a promise made long ago. Some believe that these navigators were guided not only by the physical movement of the stars, but by a deeper understanding of the universe, one that could only be felt, not seen. Perhaps they understood, in ways that have been lost to time, that the stars were not merely distant lights, but living things, their positions and movements tied to the rhythms of the earth and the tides. The navigator's knowledge was more than practical, it was mystical. The stars were their guides, yes, but they were also their guardians, protectors who watched over them as they sailed across the vast, unknown oceans. In the stillness of the night, beneath the quiet glow of the stars, you are left to wonder what it must have been like to trust the heavens in this way, to know with certainty that the stars would lead you to safety. There is a deep, spiritual connection between the stars and the navigators, one that speaks of an ancient bond between humanity and the cosmos. Perhaps it was not the stars themselves that guided these travelers, but their belief in the stars, their faith in the celestial patterns, their trust in the quiet wisdom of the universe. The stars, in their endless, steady motion, spoke to them not in words, but in a language of silence and light, a language that transcended the need for maps or compasses. As you stand in this moment of quiet reflection, beneath the soft glow of the stars, you begin to feel that same connection. The night sky, so vast and still, seems to open before you, as though it holds all the answers, all the mysteries, and all the stories of the world. The stars above you are not distant or cold, but alive with the energy of the past, filled with the stories of those who once sailed beneath them, seeking new lands, new understanding. And in this silence, you realize that perhaps, in some quiet way, you too are part of the journey, part of the eternal voyage that began long before you and will continue long after. Somewhere, deep in the heart of the night, beneath the watchful gaze of the stars, there is a truth waiting to be discovered, one that has been there all along, quietly hidden in the space between the stars, waiting for someone to listen, to look, to understand. The stars, in their quiet wisdom, hold within them the answers to all that is unknown. And though the ancient navigators are gone, their journey continues, carried on the winds of time, through the hearts of those who still look to the heavens for guidance. As the stars shimmer above you, their light soft and eternal, you realize that some journeys are never truly completed. They are simply passed on from one soul to another, like a sacred gift, a map to the unknown, a guide to the mysteries that await. And as the night deepens, you are left with the soft hum of the stars in your soul, their ancient rhythm echoing in the silence, carrying with it the wisdom of those who first sailed beneath them, and perhaps in some way, the promise of your own journey still unfolding beneath the same timeless sky. Perhaps one day, you too will hear the call of the stars and follow the path they have set before you, a path that leads not just across the world, but through the very heart of the universe itself. For the stars are never truly lost, and neither are we. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen, and the stars, forever and always, are waiting to guide us. The moonlit hall of the fallen kings. The moon rises high, casting its pale silver glow over a land that has long since forgotten the voices of its kings. Beneath the watchful eye of the heavens, there lies a hall, a silent, forgotten place where once the rulers of a mighty empire walked, their footsteps echoing through the grand chambers, their words shaping the fate of nations. Now, the hall is still, its walls crumbled, its throne long abandoned, but its memory lingers in the silence, echoing through the stones like a distant, haunting melody. Tonight, the moonlight bathes the ruins in a soft, ethereal glow, as though the night itself remembers the stories that were once told here. The hall, though broken, still stands, its columns reaching skyward like the outstretched hands of a forgotten people, reaching for the stars that once guided their rulers. The air is cool, heavy with the weight of time, and as you step into the hall, the silence presses in around you, thick and profound. There is no sound here, no movement, only the stillness of ages, the weight of a history that has long since faded from the world. It is said that this hall was once the heart of an empire, a place where the greatest kings and queens held court, where decisions were made that shaped the course of the world. The walls of the hall were once adorned with tapestries that told the story of the empire's rise, of warriors who conquered lands, of rulers who commanded the heavens, of a people who lived in the shadow of greatness. The throne room, once filled with the sounds of debate and diplomacy, now lies empty, the throne itself covered in dust and the remnants of time. The banners that once hung proudly now flutter in the wind, their colors faded, their purpose forgotten. But though the throne is empty, the echoes of those who once sat there still linger in the air. The kings and queens who ruled this land are gone, their names lost to the winds, their deeds swallowed by the sands of time. And yet, as you stand in the heart of the hall, you can almost feel their presence, the weight of their gaze, the authority in their voices, the power they once commanded. The silence is not one of absence, but of reverence, as though the very walls are holding their breath, waiting for the kings to return. Some believe that the kings who once ruled this land did not fall to battle or war, but to a more subtle force, to the weight of their own power, to the burden of their crowns. It is whispered that these kings were not just rulers, but gods in their own right, their divine right to rule unchallenged by mere mortals. They spoke with the voices of the heavens, their commands unopposed, but in the end, the power they wielded was too great, and it consumed them. Perhaps it was their arrogance, their belief that they were invincible, that led to their downfall. Or perhaps it was simply the passage of time, the inevitable erosion of all things, no matter how mighty. The hall now stands as a monument to that fall, to the quiet collapse of an empire that once stood as a beacon of power and glory. The once shining stones are now worn, their edges softened by centuries of neglect. The intricate carvings that once adorned the walls are faded, their meaning lost to time. Yet, as you move deeper into the hall, there is a sense of awe that washes over you, a sense that you are standing in a place where history was made, where kings once ruled, where the very fabric of the world was shaped. And though the hall is empty now, you can still hear the faint echoes of their voices, carried on the wind, whispered in the silence. As the moonlight pours through the broken windows, the shadows grow long, stretching across the floor like the outstretched hands of those who once walked here. The light catches the edges of the broken columns, casting them in a soft glow, as though the hall itself is remembering its former grandeur. The air grows heavier still, thick with the weight of the past, as if the very stones are speaking to you, telling you their story, inviting you to listen. And then, as if on cue, a faint breeze stirs through the hall, carrying with it the faintest whisper. It is not a voice, but the sound of something ancient, a murmur from the past, a sigh of a time long gone. The wind passes through the crumbling columns, through the empty halls, and for a moment you feel it, the presence of the kings who once ruled here, standing beside you in the moonlight, their eyes fixed on the horizon as they once did. Perhaps in some way they never left. Perhaps in the quiet stillness of this place, they continue to watch, to wait for the world to remember them. As you stand in the center of the hall, bathed in the soft glow of the moon, you are filled with a sense of reverence, not for the kings themselves, but for the land they once ruled, for the legacy they left behind, and for the mystery of their fall. What caused their empire to crumble? What led to the silence that now envelops this place? The answers, it seems, are hidden in the shadows, beneath the stones, lost to time. Perhaps they are meant to remain a mystery, locked away in the halls of history, forever lost in the moonlight. As the night deepens and the stars rise higher in the sky, the hall grows quieter, the moonlight dimmer, and the echoes of the kings fade into the silence. The ruins, now only a shadow of their former selves, stand still beneath the sky, waiting, waiting for the world to remember, waiting for someone to listen. The stories of the fallen kings, once so grand, are now nothing more than whispers carried on the wind, fading like the last echoes of a song. The hall stands in reverence, as if holding its breath, its story unfinished, its mystery eternal. Perhaps it was never meant to be solved, this mystery of the fallen kings. Perhaps some stories are meant to fade into the night, to be carried away on the wind, never to be fully understood. And perhaps in that silence, There is a certain beauty, a beauty in the quiet, in the unknown, in the stillness of a pause that was once filled with life and now waits quietly for someone to remember. The moon rises higher and the night deepens, and you are left standing in the heart of the hall, suspended between the past and the present, between the whispers of the kings and the silence that remains. In the quiet heart of a forgotten library, hidden beneath layers of dust and time, lie the lost scrolls, relics of an ancient knowledge that has long since slipped from memory. These scrolls, delicate and fragile, once held the wisdom of a civilization that sought to understand not only the world around them, but the very nature of existence itself. But now, in the dim light of the library's solitary chamber, they rest in silence, their words waiting to be read once more by those who still seek the mysteries they hold. It is said that these scrolls were written by the scholars of a long-lost empire, their words flowing like a river of thought across the parchment, capturing the essence of everything they knew. These were the philosophers, the mathematicians, the astronomers, those who looked to the heavens for answers and who sought the patterns in the earth to explain the unseen forces that shaped their world. They believed that knowledge was sacred, that to understand the universe was to understand the divine, and they poured their hearts and minds into these scrolls, hoping that the knowledge they had gained would live on long after they were gone. Tonight, the journey begins in the silence of the library, where the air is thick with the weight of the past. The scrolls lie in scattered piles, their fragile edges curling with age, their ink faded but still legible, their secrets held fast by the stillness that surrounds them. The shelves, once lined with thousands of texts, now stand empty, their contents slowly being consumed by the creeping tide of time. Only these scrolls remain, their words, once vibrant, now quiet echoes of a world that has passed into the forgotten shadows. As you carefully unroll one of the scrolls, the first thing you notice is the delicate nature of the parchment. It is old, but not brittle, a testament to the care with which it was made. The words are written in a flowing script, each letter shaped with a careful hand, each phrase carrying the weight of centuries of thought. The ink is still dark enough to make out the shapes of the characters, though the finer details have faded, as if the ink itself has begun to dissolve into the fabric of the parchment. The writing speaks of the stars, of the movements of the heavens, of the mysteries of life and death, and the connection between all things. It is as if the scholar who wrote this was not merely recording facts, but was trying to capture the essence of existence itself, to hold the entire universe in a few words written on paper. But as you read further, you begin to sense that there is something more to these scrolls than just knowledge. There is a quiet, sacred power in the words themselves, as if each scroll holds a fragment of the divine, a truth so deep that it cannot be fully understood, only felt. The language of the scrolls is not simply descriptive, but evocative, painting pictures in the mind, opening windows to other worlds, to other ways of seeing. The knowledge contained within is not just intellectual, but spiritual, a map of the soul, a guide to understanding the deeper mysteries of the universe. And yet, as you continue to read, you also sense something else, a growing sadness that seems to permeate the scrolls. These were not just the works of scholars seeking knowledge, but the final attempts of a civilization that had already begun to fade from memory. The words, though full of insight, also carry with them the weight of impending loss. The scholars, it seems, knew that their world was slipping away, that the knowledge they had gained would soon be lost to time, buried beneath the sands of history. The final pages of the scrolls speak of the inevitable decay of all things, of the fleeting nature of existence, and of the search for immortality in a world that cannot be held. As you reach the last scroll, the final entry is faint, nearly indecipherable. The ink has bled into the parchment, the words blurred as though the scholar's hand was trembling when he wrote them. The text speaks of something else, something beyond the material world, something that lies just beyond the reach of human understanding. Perhaps it is a secret, a truth that the scholar never fully understood, but could only glimpse in the moments before the world swallowed it whole. The final words are a question, left unanswered. What lies beyond the veil of time? The last of the scrolls crumbles in your hands, the words fading away like the last echoes of a dream. The library grows quiet again, its silence now filled with the weight of what has been lost. The scrolls, though they have passed into the dust of history, leave behind a lingering presence, a memory of a civilization that once sought to understand the deepest mysteries of the world, a memory that is now fading, but not entirely gone. As the night deepens, you are left with the sense that the scrolls have shared something with you, not just knowledge, but a feeling, the sense of a civilization's quiet passing, of its final sacred attempt to capture the truth of the universe, and the realization that some truths, no matter how deeply sought, may never be fully understood. These scrolls, like the civilizations that created them, are lost to time, their knowledge buried beneath the weight of centuries. But the questions they raised, the mysteries they explored, still echo in the silence, waiting for someone to listen. Perhaps the answers will never come. Perhaps the knowledge is not meant to be fully understood. Perhaps some things are meant to remain lost, hidden in the quiet places of the world, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. But for now, the scrolls rest, their stories told, their wisdom passed on, not in the clarity of understanding, but in the stillness that remains after the question is asked. Some voices only echo when we are ready to listen, and the scrolls, though lost to time, continue to speak in the silence. Their story is not one of finality, but of eternity, of knowledge that is never fully grasped, but always sought. And in the quiet of the night, beneath the weight of the forgotten words, you are left with the sense that the quest for understanding is not one that ends, but one that continues, like the river of time itself, flowing ever onward through the spaces between the stars.